Hey there, Studio Art One, Mr. Longo here, and what I'd like to show you today, in case you missed it, in case you need a little more help with it, is how we're going to start with neurographic art. So this is going to be the practice that I'm going to give you for a few days, and let me just show you some of the basics, okay? So really, for one, be in the right mindset. Okay, this is supposed to be kind of like a stress reliever type thing. So you can focus on your stress, you can think about your day, but try and keep all other distractions out of your way right now. Okay, so let's put all of our attention into this for just a little bit of time. I assure you it might make you feel better. So first things first, we're going to start with a couple shapes. Okay, they can be pretty much randomized at this point, but I'm just going to start with some simple shapes to get things going. Okay, that should be good. So I got a few simple shapes. Maybe I'll do one more crescent. Okay, and now I want you to kind of just again think about just that one singular thing that's on your mind. It could be good, it could be bad, it could be bugging you. And I want you to take your drawing tool and I want you to go from one side to another with a very randomized kind of line. So just kind of go with the flow, just like this. There we go. Going with the flow. So let's go with some more flow. Take this one. And if you see some spots that you feel like you need to fill up a little bit more, you can possibly start there. Okay. And I'd like to do 5 lines. That was 3. There we go. So now we've got a pile of things. You can still kind of sort of see your shapes, but this is where the magic happens. Now we're going to take this and we're going to create our neurons now. Okay? So what I want you to do is I want you to look for your areas where 2 lines or more intersect. And what I'd like you to do is thicken up those areas and color them in and get a curve out of them. So before they didn't have a curve and now they do. Okay? And let's do that for a few spots. Let's do that across this area. So this is kind of the first part of the neurographic algorithm, which still sounds crazy to me. There's an algorithm. But what we're trying to accomplish is, first off, it's looking like the neurons, but also it's just like the only things that are happening is you're following your line work and you're making this little change in each spot. And that's really it. And use this time to think through some things that might be, on your mind or bugging you, something coming up later. Um, and you might actually feel some relief from those things, having the time to honestly just sit and draw and think. Okay. So neurons are kind of like star shapes, these rounded edges, and they can have lots of different connections, and they're all kind of firing off. So as you can see, what I'm doing simply is just making those connections, okay, and strengthening those connections. And from that, we can get a lot of rounded, ovally type shapes, which is looking pretty solid. And again, you just kind of go with the flow here. So this one's awfully thin, so I'm going to start it out here. That looks great. Okay. Start over here. You see, just everything's getting rounded. And you're starting to see that that ovally circle that I drew. Again, it's starting to pop out. So it's by doing this, you're creating an emphasis on that shape because it's just a little different than everything else. Okay. That one was drawn with some direction. The other ones were more directionless. So let's get through this. Now, in your work, again, this is your introduction to this style. What I'd like you to do is finish the page. Okay? Put in some work, finish the page, see what comes of it. I've read some people said some interesting things about the style. They think it's weird but kind of relaxing, um, interesting. Like if you have an interest in like psychology, again, a psychologist invented this. So like it's very interesting. Somebody who studies the mind came up with this. Really freaky. We got some great stuff going on there. What you can also do is if you wish, you can go in and just make some lines fatter than others. And that's a good way to work too. So I made this line half thin, half fat. All right, here's another one here. And after that, I think I will stop for today. And look at all the differences going on. So let's talk about the rhythm before we depart. So we're doing the same thing everywhere, and yet it's all somewhat different. Okay. So by curving everything, in some spots there's more room, some spots there's less room, thick lines, fat lines, you name it, you're seeing it. And that is the rhythm, the fact that we are doing something that is semi-pattern like, semi-repetitive with little differences. Okay? And in by working on these types of things, the things that we put in first and maybe later adding color and things, what you would be doing is creating an emphasis to those items. We want to draw people into those items, and that's because they were constructed differently than everything else. So, you're going to have a few days to finish this practice, okay? And again, make your neuron shapes, do some filling in, and if anything else comes up, I will let you know. When this is finished, I'm going to post this as well on Classroom, okay? If you have any questions for me, hopefully by now you know how to reach me. You can go on Remind at Studio1W or email me, I guess, mlongo at monroetwp.k12.nj.us. Thank you. See y'all later.